here with Rebecca Trahan of District 5, one of 3 City Council candidates.
Yes.
And thank you for meeting with us. Now, if you saw our last video that Costa Mesa Brief did on Sandy Guinness, you'd see that we go and ask the voters through social media questions they want answered.
Yes.
So I want to start off with that. One of the main questions we're getting is, what is your connection to Costa Mesa?
My connection to Costa Mesa is I have lived here for almost 6 years. I am a homeowner. I am raising my little 2-year-old here. And that's my connection. I'm very connected with my neighbors. I'm very connected with the city. I serve on some of the city commissions, and I love getting involved with some of the politics in the city and really trying to affect change in the city.
What commissions do you sit on?
Right now I'm on the Housing and Public Service Committee. I've been on that commission for almost 3 years, I believe, and I was formerly on the Pension and Finance Advisory Commission.
Now, another one of the questions we're getting is, what are your plans to protect Fairview Park?
One of the things that I highlight on my website and in my information is that I want to prevent developers from coming in and building on the park. I was one of the advocates for the turnaround because the setup was actually affecting the residents, so it was important that they did get some of the exemptions with the measure, and it was important that they did get the turnaround. But outside of that, I think that we should protect Fairview Park.
So you support the turnaround, but otherwise want to keep all the protections?
Yes.
So is there any other protections we need, or?
I would say at this point, I just say protection. I think the law is pretty clear in the measures that we've passed. I think that it does have the protections in place against building housing and things like that. But I think now that we have the exemptions that were passed July 3rd of this year, I think that now that should set things in place.
Now, we have had, back in 2015, a huge increase in crime, and it has been declining, but very slowly. About 2 to 3% each year it's been decreasing. Do you have any plans to continue the decrease in crime?
Well, that's a very good question, and I sort of take the stand that I know Sandy Guinness sees as well. I don't necessarily see a decrease in crime. What I'm seeing is a decrease in the people who are reporting the crime. So I think that the crime is still taking place. And myself, I've actually seen crime increase in my neighborhood, and I've had to fight that. So we need to continue to take measures to be tough on crime. We need to support our law enforcement so that they can answer the call whenever a crime is taking place. I think another thing that we need to do is that we need to seriously address our transient issue, because a number of the crimes take place and are actually happening as a result of the transient population that we have. Not the homeless, but the transients who want to stay on the street, they want to do drugs, and they just want to cause harm and wreak havoc in our community.
Now, what about pensions, though? What can we do to address pensions if anything we're doing to address crime? Do we need more cops? And
I think that we should actually make sure that our city hall is fully staffed. So if we do need law enforcement, if that's going to help cut down on crime, I do think that we should add them. But the problem is exactly what you're talking about. It's the pension crisis. So it's kind of like we have to weigh what is the best option. I think that we can potentially add more staff, and I think that we can continue to pay down the pension by finding pork in the budget, cutting the pork, adding more into the reserve so that we can work to pay down the pension. But that is a top priority of mine.
And you had mentioned you were on the Pension Oversight Committee?
The Finance and Pension Advisory Committee,
okay.
Yes.
So you are pretty knowledgeable
Yes.
on the city finances?
Yes, and I've had access to the budget, and myself, I work full-time as a finance executive, so I read budgets every single day with businesses and schools all over America.
You mentioned the homeless and the transients.
Yes.
So how do you want to address that in your district?
In my district, actually, it seems like we have so the largest homeless population in our district in comparison to other districts. That's what it seems like, at least looking around on the street and talking with some of the neighbors and some of the residents. So what I would do myself to combat the homeless problem that we have is I would actually empower the nonprofits that we already have in place in Orange County and in Costa Mesa, help them grow their program because they are effectively helping people get back on their feet. They're providing mental health, help. They're providing job training. There's other things that they're doing to help get people off the street and get them back into society. Something that I see that is a problem with our current council, and it's one of many reasons why people want to go in and just clean house with the council, is we have a number of representatives who, rather than trying to find a real solution, they want to have their own homeless pet project in their own name so that it's something that can get them elected or maybe help them with career advancement. So rather than focusing on something that is going to work, they're more interested in something that's going to get their name out there and help their career. And the residents suffer when that happens. So we need to stop that. We need to work with the programs that we have in place, and we need to empower our law enforcement more to be able to step in and take the necessary action that they need to take to clean up our city and get our transients off the street.
So how can the city council empower the police more?
That's a very good question. Really, in the way that they address the homeless issue, it seems like in the past that the city council has turned the homeless issue into one to where if the police go in, it seems like they turn it into a civil rights issue. Whereas if we can take it from a lawlessness standpoint, and if we can take it from a standpoint of going in and actually working to clean up the city and eliminate any lawsuit, I guess any potential for lawsuits, then that's going to be a key way that we do it. You know, I worked for a little while with Rudy Giuliani, and something that I talk with residents about is it would really be nice to see somebody to be able to go in and clean up Costa Mesa very much like New York City was cleaned up. If they can do it in New York City, and if they can do it in cities around America, we should be able to do it here in Costa Mesa as well.
And what about the needle exchange? I know that's a really hot button topic right now.
Yes, actually, I was the first non-council resident to publicly address it and to speak out against it. And it is a huge issue. I firmly believe, with my political experience, that that is something that actually could have been stopped. If our council members had gone to the health department, if they had gone and had the meetings, I think that this actually could have been stopped. I talked with the health department themselves. I said, we sent in these letters, we educated the community. What's the magic number it takes to actually stop a program like this? What does it take to revoke the license? Does it take 1,000 letters? Does it take 3,000? And the representatives that I talked with, they said, no, there is no magic number. They told me that ultimately it was the city council that could have actually stopped it. I know that Mayor Sandy Guinness, she definitely went above and beyond the call to educate people about the issues citywide, to get people to write letters. She went above and beyond the call. The rest of the council, they sat on the dais, they said that they were against it, but then they didn't do anything to actually stop it, and they could have.
And you're sure they didn't do anything maybe behind the scenes?
Not that we've been told. And, I know that there has been rumors that, maybe certain council members had their staff do it, or their staff was supposed to do it. But with an issue that is this crucial, they should not have relied, or they shouldn't have, thrown it off onto their staff. They should have done exactly like Sandy Guinness did. They should have been proactive like she was and actually put their name on the line to actually fight this program.
Now, this is our first year doing district voting.
Yes.
I know it's kind of hard to really explain, but can you tell us exactly where is District 5?
District 5, it's very gerrymandered. It's like a big horseshoe. It wraps around District 4. So It starts right off of Newport Boulevard, right where I live, like in the Wilson area. It starts between Newport and Harbor. It wraps around, it goes to Fairview Park. The best way for me to describe it is it covers the Estancia High School area. It wraps around, it covers Thurin, it covers Hamilton, it covers Monrovia, but it is very gerrymandered. Where I live in Wilson, I'm in District 5, yet you go across the street, and that's District 3.
So who are you running against in District 5?
Running against Arliss Reynolds and Allan Mansoor.
Now, you mentioned your, was it blog, Take Back Costa Mesa?
Yes, the website, yes.
Website, sorry. So to start, Take Back Costa Mesa from what?
It's not about taking it from anything per se. It's not about taking it from a political party. It's not about taking it from a person. What it is it's allowing the residents to take back their city. And it's putting a person on the council that is going to once again represent the voice of every resident in District 5. And when they get on the council, work with the other council members to truly represent all of Costa Mesa. It doesn't matter what their party affiliation is, doesn't matter what their gender is, what their race is. We need a representative that is going to go in and be a voice of the people, every single person. Every voice needs to matter, and that's not happening on our city council right now. We need change.
You mentioned on your website, I know you got a lot of heat for this recently, about corruption.
Yes.
Did you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I would like to talk about that because, we should not be having corruption in our government and corruption on our city council. Our council members are supposed to be there for the right reasons. It's supposed to be a civic duty. They're supposed to be there serving the residents. It's not supposed to be a career move. It's not supposed to be a position where they're doing like some of them have done, and they've stayed on the council 10 years, 20 years. That shouldn't be happening. It needs to be a civic duty that they complete for the people, and then they need to let new, fresh voices on the council.
You mentioned people are using it as a career move, but isn't city council a good place to start for a politician that maybe wants to move up?
It can be a good start, but the problem is when you have people that stay in city council year after year after year. If they want to advance, that's fine. If they want to take the next step, that's fine. But don't do so at voters and at residents' expenses, at their expense and at their detriment.
So that doesn't sound corrupt, though, to just stay on the city council if they keep getting voted in.
The corruption is some of the deals that they're making to stay in office, and that's something that I mentioned in the blog.
What is that?
Well, for example, something that many Costa Mesans know about is the blog that I wrote about Allan Mansoor and how he was asked to step out of the mayor's race by his donors because he wasn't going to win, which is understandable, but he should be staying in a seat. He still has 2 more years left on his current at-large seat. And the problem is now he has jumped into the District 5 race when he hasn't truly lived here for years. But the bottom line is he's doing like he did years ago. He's basically looking at quitting his job halfway through, and he's trying to win in District 5 so that he can add 2 more years to his council tenure. And then if his seat becomes available, he wants to appoint one of his friends or a couple of his friends to the council. And to me, that's not giving residents what they want. That's not giving them a fair and balanced election. Some people might call it corruption. Some people might call it manipulating an election or manipulating and using the residents and the voters. There's so many terms that you could use for it, but the fact is it's flat out wrong. And people are tired also of residents being used in the process. There have been past council members, including Allan Mansoor, who have added supportive residents to their ticket. Those residents have a right to run and they want to get elected, and then suddenly Allan and his friends will suddenly ask those people to step aside, and they'll replace them with somebody else that will better suit their career needs. Now, those people, they have the option to stay in, but I don't think that residents should be used like that and just tossed aside.
You mentioned that Allan Mansoor hasn't lived in District 5 this whole time.
It's been recently that he moved here.
Okay, and why did he move to District 5 if he had a secure seat?
You know, that's a question that many Costa Mesans are asking themselves. The story that I've been told is that he felt like I could not beat Arliss Reynolds, which is actually not the truth. And what he went around telling people is, oh, I'm going to jump into District 5 because I can handily beat Rebecca and what's her name. That was his exact words according to what the insiders told me. So that's my understanding.
Now, if his party asked him not to run because they didn't think he could win as mayor, did that mean that they really thought that he couldn't beat Katrina Foley, who is one of the current mayoral candidates for Costa Mesa?
You know, I'm not sure the real reason why they asked him to step out, except that the numbers were not looking good for Allan. At the time, Katrina was his only competition. I think what may have possibly changed the game is that when Sandy jumped into the race, I think that Sandy and Allan have a lot of the same supporters. And so I think that he wasn't going to be able to beat either Sandy or Katrina. And that's my guess. You'd have to talk with his donors directly about that to get the exact answer, but that's my understanding of what happened.
Why should the voters of District 5 vote for you?
That's a good question. You know, as I've been walking door to door in the district and District 5, people time and time again are telling me that they're tired of politicians. They're tired of having council members that don't listen to them, that don't hear their voice. Arliss Reynolds and Allan Mansoor, they are politicians. They're part of the problem. They see me as a resident, as a neighbor, just like them, that is there to be a voice for them and there to provide solutions for them. So that's why people should vote for me, but also because I am a mom. I work full time just like they do. I never planned on running for city council, but I stepped up to stand in the gap when nobody else would, when I didn't see that we had candidates that were addressing the issues that were of top concern to working individuals and families in District 5. I was the one that made the sacrifice and stepped up to be the voice of the people, you know. And it's interesting, today is also 9/11, and I did lose one of my college best friends in the Pentagon, and I lost several friends in the World Trade Center. And as I was walking the precincts today, I remembered, it reminded me that, you know, he was in the Navy, and one of the things that he always wanted to do was run for office and maybe run for President of the United States. And so that's another reason why I'm running, is I'm running for those people that perished on that day and that did want to run for office but never got the chance. So I want to be able to live life to the fullest and, you know, fulfill the dreams that those who perished couldn't. So